pretty funny, this is probably my first ever video discussing a league update. Talon and quite frankly the entire assassin class have not really seen any significant or exciting changes for a few years now, but next patch actually seems like it will open up many builds. About damn time. What's up everyone? Today I want to share my thoughts about the changes that will affect Talon's builds next patch. For those of you who haven't seen them, Axiom's cost will be reduced to 2750 gold, so 250 gold cheaper without any other changes, and Profane Hydra's cost will be reduced to 2850 gold, 350 gold cheaper while losing 5 AD. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you which one received a bigger buff immediately, but on paper we could analyze gold efficiency, in which case it's Axiom. Currently it already sits at 115% gold efficiency, increased to 126% after the buff. Meanwhile Profane Hydra is currently at 98%, increased to 104% after the buff. Numbers are not enough to judge how good an item on a champ is though, so let's think about what makes Axiom Arc and Profane Hydra good items on Talon. Starting with Axiom. Probably the most underrated item comparatively to its value right now. It's the only assassin item with 20 haste, which even outside of assassin itemization is very rare and valuable, especially for a first or second item. This will accelerate your farming as Talon's clear speed is mostly determined by the cooldown for your second rotation. However, this is an alternative approach to clear speed. One thing that also improves clear speed is Ghostblade, because you get to your camps faster in the first place. Now if we combine them, I think you see where we're getting at. The third way to improve clear speed is more damage, so that would be something like Opportunity or Hubris while its passive is active. The problem with these two items is that Opportunity has no haste, and Hubris is relatively expensive and its passive is conditional. This makes Ghostblade and Axiom a great and reliable 2-item core build, providing the ideal stats not just for clear speed, but the next thing I'd like to discuss. Presence. The general rule of thumb for Talon is that you avoid making plays without your ultimate, as your damage will be a lot less reliable, therefore your presence only misleads your team into thinking you can actually do something. You can't. If you've enjoyed Axiom before, then you know the coolest thing about Axiom is that you can ult twice in one fight in mid or late game, but more realistically you can re-enter a fight shortly after an assassination or two. However, the more practical use of Axiom's passive is that early and mid game, your ult downtime is drastically reduced, similar to running Ultimate Hunter. This means not only will your clear be faster, but you will also have little to no downtime for your ultimate, assuming you get at least 1 kill or assist per ult, which is pretty normal as that is what you want regardless of items. If you combine this with the sustain from fleets, then we may be looking at one of Talon's best core builds ever. Moving on to Profane Hydra. I feel like there's not too much to talk about for Hydra. Before, it felt like a luxury item for your 3rd, 4th or 5th item slot, as it had pretty good stats and provides extra area damage that Talon already has. However, assassins having luxury in 2025, let's be real guys, you're either giga smurfing or the enemies are just inting and the game's already won, right? What this buff does for Talon is it makes Hydra a 1st or 2nd slot item for Talon. The reason why I think it could be a decent verse item is because it speeds up your camp clearing, especially for Raptors and Krugs, while having a little bit of extra damage in a fight compared to Ghostblade. Where it suffers the most though is the build path. However, you can essentially cheat it, much like Axiom, by building pickaxe and 2 longswords and attempt to complete it in your next purchase. This is very difficult to pull off early game, which is why I think it's better to keep Ghostblade first and buy this item second, as their gold income and stats will be a little better. This timing also aligns with Profane Hydra's other strength, pushing waves even faster as Talon. From here on, this will actually be a valuable effect. With these 2 changes in mind, I guess you're wondering what about the other items? Well, Hubris' value and priority is definitely taking a hit. To be honest, Hubris already was always a risky purchase and could brick your build because of the cost and conditional passive. Both Axiom and Hydra are more clear-cut better options. However, Hubris will still be a decent item when you're confident in continuing your snowball and getting many kills. It's not exactly losing anything, right? If you choose to skip Hubris 1st and 2nd though, never build it afterwards. Opportunity is also taking a hit because Ghostblade is still better as the first item, and even with Hubris gone, it no longer takes the spot for the second item either. Axiom or Hydra would easily be better options here. I believe Opportunity would definitely be a decent third option, as long as you don't need any situational items such as Edge of Night or Serpent's Fang, or even Serolda's Grudge. Voltaic will always remain as a for fun item paired with Fleet Footwork. I won't even talk about this item, there's no good core build for it, but it is pretty fun, and yeah, just build it if you want to try it out for fun. Ghostblade remains as the best first item option in my opinion. It will still be Talon's signature rush item. However, I will definitely be looking at building Axiom into Ghostblade as well. This item for a long time now is S+ tier for Talon. The only thing it lacks is haste. The rest remain pretty much unaffected, and if you're wondering what the thought process is for when to build what items, then you should generally follow these rules. The first and second item are the two most important of course, and generally this will be Ghostblade into Axiom, and then your third item could be something like Opportunity or Hydra. Serolda's Grudge will usually be your fourth item, but you can build it third if the enemies are stacking armor early, or you're just behind because you want your lethality and armor pen to essentially outscale the enemy armor. Edge of Night is usually a situational third item. You can sometimes just stall it and leave it for the fifth slot. It's kind of the same with Serpent's Fang, it's a situational third item. However, the difference is if you're behind, then you actually go for the second in games against heavy shielders like Karma or Ivan, and when they have carries using shields. But you could also complete Serpents as a cheap fourth or fifth item as well. As for your last item, it can be any situational item or anything that's cheap and you can complete, or something higher ends like Death Stance, pretty good even if you go assassin build. GA is pretty nice as well, pretty underrated. Potentially even Shojin isn't too bad as well. And lastly for boots, it will always be Ionian's boots in my opinion. However, you can build Swifties, especially if they have a bunch of slows. As for when you buy them, it's usually after your third item. However, if you are ahead, you can consider buying one item earlier, so after a second item. Same logic applies to T3 boots. You can just build it after your fourth item normally, or you can build it after your third item if you're ahead. And Elixir will always be last. And finally, runes. I still believe Fleet will be top tier, especially with Ghostblade and Axiom to cover all the weak points in the stats. Phase Rush still sounds decent. However, I think Conqueror will actually make a bit of a comeback for both the Axiom path and the Hydra path, and potentially Domination too. Just wait for me to test him before you bombard me with what runes. And that's it for this video. Hope it was useful, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a comment below and let me know what you think will be the best build in the upcoming patch. It could be my next video.